Today, we're going to be giving some tips and tricks on how to finish the Iconoclasm mission in the Destiny 2 Final Shape campaign on Legend Solo. This isn't too bad of an encounter to do by yourself if you take your time and kind of work your way through it. So we're going to give some good ideas and strategies on how to beat this and be able to finally face the witness. Now, let's jump right on into it. Now, for the first part of this mission, you're essentially just going to be doing ad clear in between the different main boss checkpoint phases. There's going to be 3 total that you're going to go through, but for these sections, I mainly just recommend using a long range, kind of good ad clear weapon so that you can take off targets from a distance without having to worry about taking any damage yourself. I will kind of recommend some different setups at the end of this video for whatever guardian that you bring into this encounter. Now, for the first checkpoint that you're going to do, essentially you're just kind of pushing your way up a small hill when there's going to be a lot of those flying dread enemies, taking acolytes, taking minotaurs, and a couple of gold bar taken wizards. Not too bad to defeat in any way, shape, or form, but eventually there's going to be a tormentor that's going to spawn. Now, this isn't a typical tormentor where you're able to do all your different debuffs like suspend or suppress on it. Is going to be an imprint of Nezarec, so you're going to have to try a little bit harder on this one as a more of a boss style version of it. Biggest thing I recommend is just using your super on it as fast as humanly possible. I personally used the new Void Axe super for Titan, and it did a lot of solid damage, and then just kind of pelted it with my Call Strand sidearm until it was finally defeated. You're going to essentially just make your way through until you find this small little cave. Now, you'll notice that your health is starting to kind of burn away and you have those animations at the bottom of your screen. You're going to make your way through and eventually shoot one of these darkness seeds. What it's going to do is shield you from darkness for about 45 seconds. You essentially just have to make your way through any of these areas that has like this cloudy kind of orange around it. Just push your way through as fast as possible, take down the enemies, and eventually you'll make your way to a spot where you are safe from the darkness. Now, our second checkpoint is going to drop us down into a small compact room. Initially, you're just going to be doing some basic ad clear against taken and dread enemies, while there is also going to be a few enemies that are shielded and required to use your transcendence on them. Shouldn't be too bad to take them out, and there will be an omen that eventually spawns in as well that you have to take down. For this, I recommend, again, just using your super and or maybe just your heavy weapon at that time. Currently, I'm using a really solid grenade launcher, the Ed Transit, that was introduced in the Into the Light event. So I was able to take him down pretty dang fast and also start the next phase. For the next part of this, you're going to shoot that seed that is up in the air and then eventually make your way over to the darkness seed on the ground to get that buff. Now, essentially, you just need to go to either side of the room and drop down into this small hole that is right there. It's going to drop you into a different room where you're going to see that kind of, again, darkness air flowing around you. So you have to have that buff going or you're going to take a lot of damage from it. Now, first, just take out these taken minotaurs that are around the room until you see the Hive Warden that is going to spawn in. This is going to be the guy that you need to take out as fast as possible because he will eventually drop a symbol on the ground that you need to correlate and take back upstairs. Now, you will have to defeat 2 of these guys, so again, I recommend just using your heaviest weapons humanly possible, just so that you can take them out real fast and not have to worry about that darkness timer that will eventually decay away your health. Now, once you're back upstairs, make sure you match up the symbols that you just picked up on the ground. So I had the Witness and the Traveler. And then once I do that, a larger Hive taken boss will spawn in. You simply just have to defeat this boss. There's no immune phases in between. Just absolutely unload on him. Again, I was using a combination of the Graviton Lance, the Call, and my Edge Transit and was able to melt him pretty dang fast and not really have to worry about the rest of the ads that will spawn it in this phase. Now, for the third encounter, you're going to start it off by taking out the enemies that are standing within the blights on the left and right side of the room, while also taking out the blight itself. Now, do know you have to go transcendent to defeat these enemies, but it shouldn't be too hard. Just drop a quick grenade in there, let them be afflicted by it, and then take out the blight itself. Once you do that, one of those darkness seeds is going to spawn in again, and you need to grab that buff one more time. Jump in the large portal up in the air and you're going to go into this room. Now, it's essentially again going to be exactly like encounter 2. You just need to defeat the large Hive Wardens that are going to be within those rooms and grab their respective symbols and take it back upstairs. Now, once you have both those symbols, go to the center of that bottom room and teleport your way back up. and you're just going to have to find where that symbol is located on either side. So both of the ones that I currently just picked up are both going to be on the right side of the room. Now, once you have both those picked up, you're going to have the shield is from the Iconoclasm raid spawn in there for you to use to take down the shield of the ogre boss. Once you do that, it's just a basic ad phase. Now, I will recommend maybe getting to a larger vantage point during this time, just because you're going to have a lot of taken scions shooting at you, while also having some of those dread scions firing at you as well. So best to just kind of like bunker down and be safe rather than be in the thick of it. After that, it's essentially just rinse and repeat. Make your way back downstairs, grab the symbols, come back upstairs, get the shield, take down the shield on the ogre boss, and then just defeat him so that you're able to move on to the final phase. Now, the final encounter, you're essentially going to be facing the witness while also not facing them, mainly just going against two larger health versions of the stasis and strand subjugators, while also dealing with a number of dread enemies in between there. First off, a big tip that I really recommend is taking out the smaller ads first, really off the fact they can be quite the annoyance and also don't respawn. So simply just take them out first, just so that you aren't having to deal with them and can focus on dodging the witness's attacks and also the subjugator as well. Big tip for the witness: you aren't going to be able to do any damage to the witness, but they are going to throw out some pretty insane attacks that can one-shot you. Now, you will get a small little prompt in the bottom left side of your debuff bar that will actually tell you when they are going to be firing this attack. Whenever this happens, I really recommend jumping behind one of these large walls, because it's going to defend you from all that damage and pretty much should be where you're standing at for most of the fight anyway, just so you don't have to deal with the constant attacks from the subjugators or the witness. Now, once you get that subjugator down to its half health, it's going to throw up an invulnerable shield, and you're going to have to shoot one of those darkness seeds again and make your way onto the left side small room. There's going to be a door that's going to open up as soon as you grab that, and you'll have to grab another one of those shields to take down that shield on the subjugator. Now, as soon as you do this, make your way back to the spawn at the start of the room, and there's going to be a large like crack of light on the ground that you need to stand on and hold your shield up, kind of putting a barrier around yourself. During this phase, the witness is essentially going to be nuking the entire arena, and this is the only real safe spot for you to stand. Now, as long as you're standing here, the shield will stay up, and it'll eventually deplete as soon as the phase is over, but you need to be standing here so that you aren't getting destroyed by those attacks. It's essentially just rinse and repeat again, destroy all the ads around, and then take out the subjugator. Now, as soon as you do this, a sword is going to spawn in that kind of like spawn area that you were just standing with your shield. You need to make your way up to the middle monolith and destroy the darkness key that is on the outside. As soon as this happens, you're going to get a prompt to embrace the darkness, and you're going to be teleported into a middle room with all of those dissenters that are within the witness. Now, they'll give you a prompt to destroy the statues around the room, and as soon as you do that, you'll begin the second phase of this fight. Now, for this one, you're going to have to make sure you have that buff on you at all times, the shielded from darkness, and the next strand subjugator is going to spawn in. Now, I recommend doing as much damage as you can as soon as he spawns in. It's going to take a second for the other ads to come in here at this time, so it's a great moment to just kind of unload on the subjugator to get him to that half health mark, where you're going to have to then make your way into the side room again. Now, you're going to grab that shield again, and again, it's just going to be that rinse and repeat process where you're going to take down the invulnerable shield that is on the strand subjugator, and then move your way back onto that spot so you can defend yourself from the witness's nuking attack. Now, the only difference between this last phase and the other one is the fact there's going to be some enemies that you have to be transcendent to defeat. Now, you don't have to defeat them. You can just kind of worry about the subjugator if you want, but if you want to play it safe, just do that process of ad clear first and then worrying about the subjugator damage. Now, once you defeat the strand subjugator, you're just going to rinse and repeat of going back inside the witness with that sword and destroying one of the dissenters. Now, when you come back out, there is going to be a subjugator right there, but it's going to be an absolute low health, easy to take down, and you will notice that the other guardians, Zavala, Ikora, Cade, and Crow, are all outside. You'll immediately just grab that sword again and go right back in and destroy the last dissenter. Now, whenever you do this, the witness is going to put you down to absolute 1 health, and whenever that happens, you're going to be teleported into a small, just kind of linear room where you're going to just move your way through and hold up that shield with the barrier around you as you're walking through. There's just going to be those little traveler light puddles along the ground as you move your way through to recharge up your shield so that you can keep on moving forward. Once you've done this, you have finished the mission on Solo Legend and are able to move on to some of the other missions so that you can finally finish off the Witness in the Excision mission. Now, when it comes to the build that I use to complete this solo encounter, first up for the exotic armor piece, I use the Precious Scars helmet. Is really solid for the fact that Final Blows, a weapon that matches my super, will create a burst of healing around me and give me restoration. This is just obviously good for just in general survivability and also being able to handle those tougher enemies. Now, when it comes to the weapons that I recommend that you should use, and this is going to be for any class that you want to use, first up for the top slot, I recommend using something like the Call. It was just introduced in the final shape. It is a rocket sidearm that uses strand. Obviously, really just super solid for increasing your darkness transcendence bar, but also it is just a really great weapon as is. Obviously, for my exotic weapon, I've been using the Graviton Lance. It is still just an amazing, just all-around damage weapon and really solid for those ad clearing sections. And finally, for just overall damage, I went with the Edge Transit for the fact that, one, it was just a really solid weapon from the Into the Light event, but also for the fact that just grenade launchers right now are a good option. Now, when it comes to Hunter, an exotic piece and build that I recommend for this is anything that is using the Lucky Pants for the fact that it's going to give you a lot of extra damage for your hand cannons and just be an all-around good bossing option, especially against those subjugators. And for Warlock, I recommend something like the Ozymancy gloves. Those cold snap grenades are great for just all-around crowd control, and also for the fact that they can be used with prismatic. It just makes it a all-around solid option if you're wanting to kind of just like jump in multiple different fields and still be able to lock down enemies with stasis. Thanks so much for watching, and make sure you're checking the description down below to see a bunch of other tips for Destiny 2 The Final Shape. And for all your Destiny 2 tips and news, keep it here on IGN.